welcome back to Cuckoo for Books. My name is Salva and today I'm going to be doing a book review on the novel Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. This is a really important book review for me, not just because the movie's coming out or will already be out by the time I finish this, but this is also the first book review I'm filming in like over a year. This book is pretty much self-explanatory. What's it about? Crazy Rich Asians. Who are the characters? Crazy Rich Asians. Where does it take place? In a specific crazy rich part of Asia. Girl meets boy. Girl doesn't know boy is this rich friggin' millionaire. Boy brings home girl to Singapore and girl is inducted into this world of fancy pantsness. What I really love about this book is the pacing. It's a quick read. After every chapter you're like, okay, just one more chapter. It's one of those books. From the prologue itself, you will be hooked. Everyone I recommend this book to, I'm just like, no, you just have to read the first few pages and without spoiling anything, it'll definitely get your attention. I also really love the humor in this novel. The author never makes you feel like you're excluded from the world, but at the same time, it makes you want to be a part of that world. It's not like, oh, look at us being so fancy, you can't sit with us. It's more of like, look, this place is ridiculous, and I'm not even sure you want to be a part of this world. I mean, it's pretty fancy, but it's also pretty crazy. I will say that this is my third time reading the novel, and I think this is the first time I've actually gotten all the characters down. It is a big cast. There are so many characters. The book opens with an actual gigantic, ginormous family tree, and this is coming from someone who reads a lot of historical fiction. The family tree at the beginning of Crazy Rich Asians rivals most of the historical biographies I've read, so it'll take time for you to get to know everyone. Segueing into the movie trailer, I'm not a fan of how they changed some of the characters, especially I think Peik Lin. Let's save that conversation when the movie actually comes out. Everyone's favorite, I think, from what I hear, everybody loves Astrid. I love Astrid, but I also have a soft spot in my heart for Eleanor, the protagonist, love interest's mom. Maybe I hate her and I love her and I love her because I hate her. She's one of those characters. Do I love her? Do I want to be her? Do I hate her? Do I want to kill her? I think that's what makes me love her, is that she's so intriguing and I don't know how I feel about her. Would say actually one of the weaker parts of the novel would be the protagonist herself, Rachel Chu. She's a Mary Sue in my opinion. Like, she's too perfect. Everybody loves her. If you don't love her, there's something wrong with you. She can't seem to do anything wrong. Even when she makes a mistake, it's cute. She has so many friends. Everyone's looking out for her and everybody's wrong in the world except her. To have her take center stage, even more so in the sequel, is the least interesting part in this very interesting novel. Another element of this book that I really loved are the author's little side notes throughout the novel. I think I just burped. Did I burp on screen? That's really gross, but I really don't want to have to say that line again because I've forgotten what I just said, so I'll leave the burp in. So the author will like have little like cultural inside jokes, include the local dialects in Singapore, and then he'll add a little asterisk and then explain it at the bottom of the page, or he'll have like hotspots in Singapore and then he'll add a little personal anecdote, which I thought made the book ever more entertaining. It sort of gave the author credibility, like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about, even though this is a ridiculous world he is writing about. He kind of knows his ish. I have a bone to pick with the author, but I know that this bone has been fixed in the sequel and in the third novel. This was a book published internationally. We really don't need more depictions of Filipinos as domestic workers, and yet that's all you read about in this novel. And I've read this book 3 times. Each time I've been like shh, 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 every time for mentions of Filipinos. Were mentioned once, and I can quote this because 3 times they list families, elite families throughout Asia, and they're like, oh yeah, the Tans in the Philippines, and that's it. The rest of the times we're like, oh, that kid's nanny, the family's maid. But why? Without bringing too many spoilers into it, I did talk about how great the pacing of the book was, all except the last part. The book was like, wee, excitement, and then you know that part in rom-coms where there's that moment when our hero or heroine is completely lost, but there's enough time for them to redeem themselves or fix the problem and then they live happily ever after. In this book, we had 2 seconds of that happily ever after and it got cut short. All aboard the spoiler train, choo-choo! My favorite part in the novel would be probably the whole sequence of events of Colin and Araminta's wedding. You know, this whole book, but especially those scenes, is the equivalent of putting together a really fancy Pinterest board. That's what this book feels like. It just makes you feel fancy and nice and makes you feel like you have your stuff together because people in the book have their stuff together. So you're like, I'm fancy because I'm living through these people. Like, woohoo. I probably would have loved, which has just occurred to me right this second because I'm running out of things to talk about, would have been to have seen interaction between Michael and Rachel, just because both of them are outsiders to this crazy rich world. Michael is clearly not loving the universe. All you see throughout the book are like all these socialites telling Rachel, you you don't belong here. I think would have been really effective had Michael come up to Rachel and be like, yeah, I married into this world thinking I could handle it, and you know what, it sucks. Run, run girl, run while you can. Talking more about the ending, since I figured we're talking about spoilers anyway, the reunion between Nick and Rachel at the end I thought was either too contrived or it left us hanging. We see the actual reunion take place through Paiglin's eyes, and all she says is, oh my gosh, they're kissing. We don't know what they talked about. We don't know how they managed to resolve the issue. I just feel like more discussion could have been had from that point of view. That about does it for my Crazy Rich Asians book review. You can follow me on my other bookish adventures on Twitter and Instagram, both at Cuckoo for Books. Please subscribe, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye guys!